Welcome back to Dating Intentionally. I'm Talia. I'm a dating coach, and I'm sharing no nonsense advice for navigating modern dating with confidence and ease, whether you've been on dozens of dates or you're just getting started. I believe dating can be fun, and I'm here trying to help you strip away the BS so you can truly enjoy the process. Today, I'm answering 5 dating dilemmas that you submitted. This one is juicy. And if you want to submit a dating dilemma anonymously, there is a submission form below in the show notes. So while you're there, you can also find links to my YouTube channel, Instagram, TikTok, if you want more no frills dating advice from me. I also want to say thank you for rating and reviewing this podcast. I love reading your reviews, messages, and emails and hearing how this podcast has helped you. You can help other daters find the show when you rate, follow, subscribe, and review. So thank you so much for doing that. Okay, let's get into it. This first question is all about what to do when you're a words of affirmation person and your partner is not. I can relate. Okay. I, 32 female, have been with my boyfriend, 36 male, for 6 months. He is great and he meets all my non negotiable needs. Our love languages are both physical touch and quality time. However, I realize I'm also a words of affirmation girly. I have tried to explain to him multiple times and give him examples. I'm starting to feel like I'm begging for love and attention. We are just back from a 3 day getaway which was awesome, but it leaves me feeling sad that he hasn't said I love you or any other compliment throughout. I'm trying to focus on everything he does right, but it's becoming harder to not think about what is lacking. Can someone change his way of expressing his love? Am I being too much and wanting to receive love verbally as well? What if I realize this is something I need? Should I set a deadline? Not sure what to do. Thank you, Valerie from Canada. Hi, Valerie. I really relate. I have had this issue in literally every relationship I've been in, including the one I'm in now, and it can be tough. So, when it comes to love languages, what I've learned is that it is really important to be fluent in all of them, or at least the ones that you share with your partner that you have between you both. Because the more you can receive his primary love language, the better. And it sounds like you are totally aware of this that and you said that you're focusing on what he gets right. But I want to share a few things that have worked for me because the answer here is not just to suck it up. That is absolutely not what you need to do here. There are definitely some things you can try. So the first one, and this sounds really basic, but I've had to remind people that I've dated to say like me too or like I feel the same way when I say something nice because I'm a words of affirmation person as well. And it sounds so basic. But basically, it's like if I say something sweet like, "I had such a great day with you," or like, "I am just really appreciate you being in my life." If they feel the same, a "me too" or "I feel the same way" is kind of enough. It can be enough. So they're acknowledging the words of affirmation, they're kind of sending it back your way. They're reciprocating without having to be the one to come up with the words because sometimes that's where people get stuck. So that's one thing that has helped. Another one that has helped me is shifting towards quality, not quantity. So again, my fiance is not a words person either, but he knows that I really appreciate cards. So when our anniversary or my birthday or something like that comes around, he writes me a note. I've also asked him to write me a note to read on like the plane when I travel and he's not coming with me, and I've saved them all. It really fills my love tank, which is a concept that is discussed in the book 5 Love Languages is like how you fill the love tank. So that's another way to kind of get the needs met around words of affirmation, even if it's not like a daily thing, it can be like a meaningful note once in a while. The third thing is kind of what you touch on, but noticing their efforts. Maybe he's not ever going to profess his love to you in the exact way you want, but he might make incremental improvements, and that at least shows he's open to hearing the feedback and he's trying, right? He's receptive to your feedback. He understands what you need and he's putting in an effort. And I already can hear people being like, "But Talia, isn't that settling?" And look, I'd rather have a partner who makes an effort and doesn't get it perfect than a partner who doesn't give a shit. Everyone you date will have a flaw of some kind. And if you, listener, if you, Valerie, find out that this need for verbal affirmation is so important to where like you just can't go on without it, then you need to be with another person, right? But then you have to understand that the next person you meet might be able to meet this need perfectly, but other needs not so much, and they will have flaws. Everyone has flaws. You get to choose your hard, like you get to choose the challenges you have in a partner, and you get to choose what you make most important. So if this is getting to the point where you just can't focus on anything else, it's really getting you down, then maybe it's not the right fit and you have to go find someone else who is more naturally a words person. But just know that that person will have flaws as well. You just can't escape the flaws. The fourth thing is talk to your partner about what words of affirmation have meant to him in his life, and then also share what it means for you. Sometimes getting a little deeper about this stuff helps people get on the same page. If he shares why it's so difficult for him, you might have a little more empathy and compassion around why this is just hard for him. And then if he hears from you why it's so important to you, he might be more motivated to try and meet this need of yours in a better way. So again, this is just a matter of having a deeper understanding of each other and seeing if it can take you further in your relationship and be better at meeting each other's needs while also understanding each other's limitations. And I want to just say, you are not too much for needing this. Verbal affirmation and verbal appreciation is one of the core needs I think everyone has. Every single relationship book I read, every relationship expert I've ever listened to talks about the importance of verbal appreciation regularly in relationships. It is so necessary. So you're not too much. It is something that's really important to keep a relationship healthy and to maintain just like a positive energy between you both. So, no, you're not too much. I hope this helps. And thanks for your question. Again, you can submit a dating dilemma in the form linked in the show notes. I'd love to help. Okay, next question. I am a 35-year-old woman, and my question is, how do I balance wanting a child in my mid 30s with a slower, not rushed, mindful, low pressure approach to dating? And how can I be upfront with potential partners about my intention to become a single mom by choice within the next 2 years if I don't meet a partner who's ready to have a child by then? I'm planning to become a single mom by choice via sperm donor in a year or two. Of course, my hope is that I still meet a partner and be able to have a child with them instead. I also realize that even if I do meet a good partner in the next 2 years, that person might not be ready to have a child at that moment. Or if we've been dating less than a year, I won't be sure that I want to have a kid with them yet because it would be too soon to tell. And in that case, I would still want to go the sperm donor route, even while I'm in that new relationship. How and when should I bring all this up with dates without scaring them off or putting too much pressure on things? And do you have suggestions for how I can approach dating with these intentions for myself? Thank you so much. Wow. Okay. So I love this question. I've been seeing this more and more women deciding to pursue motherhood solo, which I think is amazing. Here is my advice, and this advice applies to all daters, no matter what you are trying to do in the next couple of years of your life. Think of yourself like a train, okay? You have a schedule, you have a route, you have a track. Anyone who gets on your train is aware of where it's going and what time it's stopping. So if they don't want to go to that destination at that time, it's on them to get off the train. Your job is to make them aware of the route and timing. So if you're planning to make a stop at pregnancy in 2026, then they can decide what to do with that information. They can stay on the train or they can get off. I think what could be really helpful for you is seeing dating more as an experiment. And this kind of ties into your low pressure way of approaching dating right now. Like you can start playing with and experimenting and testing when you are sharing this information in the dating process to see what happens. Obviously, every person is different and will have a different reaction, but you can start to see what feels more comfortable to you, what feels more authentic, what feels more natural in terms of bringing this up. In terms of how you bring it up, I think it's good to organically get into the topic or steer the conversation towards future plans as an individual, not as a couple. Like you can talk about your career plans and how that connects to your plans to have a kid on your own. Like, oh, the one thing I haven't done yet that I really want to do is become a parent. So I'm planning on making that happen in 2 years with or without someone. When you put it like that, someone knows exactly what you're going to do and what they're signing up for. Some people might be like, that's awesome. Some people might run at the sound of that, which is ultimately a good thing. You want to scare off the guys who aren't ready so you don't waste your time on them. You might end up dating someone who already has kids from a previous relationship and is open to it, or you might end up dating someone who's in their, early to mid 40s and wants kids, but it never happened. So trust me, someone will be happy to meet someone who is so sure about what they want, which is also incredibly attractive. Like the fact that you're doing this with or without someone because that's how much it means to you and that's how much you want it is so hot. So embrace it and remember that I'm not, I always say this, I'm not a woo woo person. Maybe I am a woo woo person, but really believe if you're putting this out there in the universe, that maybe the universe will throw someone your way and in your path that will be open to this and totally on board. That will be a great match for you. And I really hope that happens. I guess the worst case scenario is that you meet someone you really like and they just don't want kids or they're not ready, and then you have to make that decision. But the cool thing about that though is that you are planning to do this no matter what. So, like, even in that worst case scenario, you are still going to be a mother on your timeline with or without out someone. And you can date as a single mom too, right? Like, it's not like your dating journey ends when you have a kid. You can date as a single mom after you have a kid. It's totally possible. People do it all the time. So I love this for you because there's really no way it can go wrong. You've set it up so that you're going to get what you want. And I really hope that you do find a partner along the way. That would be amazing. I'm rooting for you, and please send any updates if you have them. Moving right along, this next question is from a guy trying to take the next step in his relationship. We love to see it. I, 33 male, am seeing this girl, 28 female, for a little less than 2 months. We've been on 6 dates and we've had a relationship check in on date number 4 to discuss where we are. And we said that we're not exclusive yet and we are both dating intentionally. Yay. I am on the apps matching and talking to a few women, but I'm not interested in other women at this point. I'd rather date her exclusively. I am unsure whether it's a good time to show her my feelings about her and how to do that without scaring her away. Am I being too rushed? The feelings seem to be mutual. The last time we saw each other, I met some of her friends, and her roommate said this when I got introduced to her. I've heard so many good things about you. Optimistic dater, this is great. And if you have no real desire to meet with other women, this is a perfect time to say that you just want to focus on the connection. I say go for it. Let's assume the best case scenario here. She could be waiting for you to say this and feels the same. And I don't think you're being too rushed at all. Telling someone that you only want to date them isn't a marriage proposal. It doesn't mean you're stuck together. It just means that you're giving them your undivided attention. And that's great. 6 dates is a perfectly good amount of time to decide that you don't want to entertain other options, right? You're not going on first dates, you're not starting new things. You are focusing on the new thing that is just developing. Again, you are on track to being in a relationship but not using labels yet, and I think that's fine. Here are some ideas for bringing it up. You could initiate another check-in since you've already done that, and it seems like that's something you've already established with this person, and that's great. I think it's like so reassuring to have the other person be like, let's check in with where we are, especially if she's on the same page. She will love that. You can plan a fun date for you both out of the blue, share that you deleted the apps or you realize you only want to see her, whatever makes sense. Or you can share this information through text or on the phone if that's more your style. Maybe not the best because it's more meaningful in person, but it would certainly feel good to receive that kind of text. So, this is a concept called the reveal that Jared Freed and Jordana Abraham on the You Up podcast talk about. Basically, you reveal how you feel instead of asking, what are we? Because when you reveal this information, you're kind of putting your stake in the ground, and then the other person can decide how to respond. It's putting them on the spot in a different way. My fiance fully did this to me on our fourth date in person when he revealed he wanted me to be his girlfriend. I didn't really reply in that moment. I just kind of smiled and maybe I kissed him or something. But it did make me realize that I had to figure out if I wanted to keep seeing him or not, wouldn't waste his time. A mature person isn't going to be scared off by that. They're going to assess their feelings and decide what they want or need. And best case scenario, they'll tell you they feel the same. So good luck. Let us know how it goes, optimistic dater. I'd love to hear back. Okay, two more. This is a pretty common scenario. I, 34 female, am very confused and I can't tell if a guy, 31 male, is interested in me. We went on 3 amazing dates and we have had long and engaging conversations, but I've been struggling with communicating with him outside of the dates. From the beginning, he has been expressive about how he prefers to be present in the moment and not be on his phone, but it's quite surprising to see how distant he is from technology or phone. He's an entrepreneur, so I'm sensing he's very busy, but I feel like I am very drawn to him and want to get to know him, but he's making me wait a lot. Do you think this sounds normal or healthy? Or do you think I should talk to him about his communication pattern? I'm confused, anxious, and wondering after how many dates should I be picking on this topic to express my concern? I think it might be too early and I don't want to scare him away because at the same time, I'm genuinely interested to get to know him more. Yet another fear of scaring people away. This is a common theme that I'm picking up on here. I will say that the right person isn't going to be scared away. I mean, of course, there is, depending on what words you choose, how you express something, your energy could potentially scare them away, I guess. But if you're doing this in a calm, just a level headed manner, it should not scare the right person away. So people can be interested in you, but also want to protect their independence and time. So to me, the two things are separate. Like, just because someone is interested in you, that doesn't mean they'll automatically clear their entire schedule and change their routine and the way they communicate to get to know you. When people start dating us, they give us the amount of time and attention they think is acceptable and appropriate. Okay, so this is what he thinks is fine, but that might not align with what you want and need. So you get to decide if it's going to work out or not. And from what you wrote, it sounds like his level of communication and availability is doing more harm than good to your mental health. You said you're confused, you're stressed, you're anxious. That's not great by date three, right? And there is a lot of uncertainty in dating that we have to learn how to deal with and be resilient. But like, if you're the kind of person who wants a little more communication and see someone more frequently, then this might not be your match. In terms of bringing it up, yes, you can absolutely talk about it at this point, but that's different than asking for more. Okay. Bring it up, but you're not telling him, I need more. You're just like, I prefer more. And then he can decide what to say and do. Discuss both of your views on what kind of communication is acceptable and appropriate. And then you can see how much you overlap or not. And this is not a fun feeling, like not knowing when they're going to get back to you or when your next date is. Like, that's not a fun person to date if you have more time and energy to put into something. And I hate seeing daters in this position. Yes, you could fill up your schedule to feel more busy, but you could also, move on and find someone who's more available. The chase isn't worth it. And I don't think it gets better. Like, if you keep seeing that person and they're not necessarily going to have more time for you as they keep getting to know you. So let me know what you think. I know this probably isn't what you wanted to hear, but I think that from what you wrote, it sounds like he could be the kind of person where this is who I am, this is what I can give, and you have to decide if that's going to work for you or not. And if it's not, then you move along. Okay, last one. And I just want to say I really appreciate your vulnerability and trust with these submissions. And when you share and I share here, it helps other daters feel like they're less alone. So if you want to submit your dating dilemma, you can in the show notes. There's a form to submit anonymously. This one is about not getting past the first date over and over. I, queer, 28 female, keep getting told after first dates with women that they think we have more of a friend vibe. I actually asked one of them if it's something I'm doing on the date, and she said no. She just doesn't feel a romantic spark. I'm often interested in seeing women for a second date, but 3 times in a row with different women, they've said this, and they said they love to be friends instead. I identify as demisexual, so I'm fairly slow moving with building attraction. However, I would not be opposed to flirting and intimacy early on. In fact, I've tried to initiate more flirty actions on my side on dates to no avail, like gentle touches on their arm if the vibe is right, or slipping compliments into the convo naturally. Is it bad luck, or is there something else that I'm not realizing? This was never an issue for me before. I've dated women over the last 3 years and rarely got this response, but of course it happens sometimes. Do most people just not feel out early dating and make time to build attraction? Or am I too easily saying yes to a second date because I'm fun and do fun things on dates? Therefore, I tend to enjoy myself. I don't want to constantly feel like I'm making the flirty effort or trying to keep the vibe datey. I want someone to flirt with me or make a move first, too. Signed, a flirty friend zoned sapphic. Okay, so this is really common. I hear this a lot from daters where it's like 3 times in a row I got ghosted, or like 4 times in a row this happened. And I just want to remind you to put this in perspective that these people aren't meeting behind your back to like decide together that they're all going to do this to you. These are 3 isolated incidents. I think it could be a coincidence. That's truly sometimes all it is. And like when I look at my date tracker, there were like months where I didn't have any first dates lead to a second date. I had a string of first dates and then something finally moved to a second date. I think there were like 6 in a row at least. And that happens. Like, it's part of the dating game, but it is frustrating to hear over and over like there was no romantic spark. The only thing I could think of, and you didn't mention how you're meeting people, but generally for everyone, the one thing that does cause this is if your photos on your dating apps, if you're using the apps, if they don't match what you look like in real life. If anything has changed in your body, your hair, you got a haircut, it's like they expect what they see in your profile. And then if there's any major difference in real life, then it's going to kind of reflect negatively on you, even if it's not that big of a difference. Like, okay, you gained a little weight, or maybe you cut your hair, or you dyed your hair, or in your photo you have a piercing and then you took it out. Like, something that is these like changes that are noticeable will kind of cause this to happen, because if they feel, no matter what, they're going to feel a little deceived. I don't want to sound harsh, but that is truly what happens. That's the only thing I could think of, honestly, in this scenario that would cause the string of first dates to not convert into second dates. I also want to say, I don't think you're too easily saying yes. If you feel open to the second date, that's how you feel. That's great. Honestly, I mean, that sounds it's fine that you're opting in and okay, just because these 3 women all in a row did not opt in to the second date doesn't mean that you need to pull back, right? Every person is different. So the next person you date doesn't know that this happened, right? They have no idea. I also want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing and make sure you're not forcing the flirt because you have this information that people have not felt the romantic spark with you. I don't want you to make it contrived. Like, only flirt and say the compliments and do the light arm touch if you are feeling it. Don't overthink the flirty vibe. I think it's way more important to show up as yourself. And maybe you're not naturally the flirtiest person, and that is okay. I think that in queer dating, especially, and I've dated a few women, it's pretty common to feel the friend vibe. Like I've had that experience more often than not with same sex dating. It's like, oh, maybe we'll just be friends. And maybe it's because I have other female friends and it's just like, oh, I could just see this fitting into that category. And that's just maybe part of the game. I think keep going, keep doing what you're doing, keep experimenting, stay open, and you're doing great. Thank you for writing in. I want to wrap this up with a couple personal updates. So, I'm really struggling to find a reception dress for my wedding, which is like such a first world problem. I feel like finding a wedding gown was cake. It was so easy. I went to Anthropologie. They have incredible affordable options. I tried on a bunch of dresses and like I think I only went twice and I found the one I wanted. It was easy. But the reception dress is a whole other vibe. I think the venue makes it hard. It's very casual and it's just been really tough. I think I've tried on over 20 dresses at this point, which is way more than I expected. And with the wedding being 3 months out, it's starting to feel more real. And hopefully by the time this episode airs in 2 weeks, I will have figured that out. So our invites also went out this week, which makes the wedding feel like it's literally tomorrow for some reason. And we've officially started the prenup process, which I'll share more about once we are wrapped up with that. But it's been interesting. So, the other update I wanted to share is podcast related. So, I've been working on getting guests for the podcast, and I kind of do it in batches. Like, I'll do 3 guest recordings a week for a month. And then that's enough to get me through a couple months, right? I can take a break. And I heard from you guys, like I asked for feedback that you want guests who have experience with dating with SDIs, plus size daters, dating with disability and chronic illness, and generally people dating with different backgrounds. So I am working on that. And it's been fun. I love booking guests. But speaking of guests, I might not be dating, but I am regularly getting rejected. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people say yes to being on the podcast, and I'm proud of that. And I'm so excited to have the guests that I am able to get on here. But some of the people I really want end up ghosting me or saying no, but mostly ghosting, right? Just not answering. And I wanted to say I go through a lot of the feelings around this that daters go through when they get rejected. It makes me feel like I'm not good enough, my podcast isn't good enough, or I'm doing something wrong. Sometimes I'm like, wow, my podcast has more downloads than the other podcasts they went on. Like, what gives? Sometimes, I do have that sense of entitlement that I think we have as daters. Like, my profile is amazing. Why aren't they swiping right? Like, why aren't they responding? Like, I'm so great. Why don't they know that? And I definitely am experiencing that. And usually I just try to shrug it off and focus on knocking it out of the park with people who do say yes. And this is one thing about podcasting that's different from dating, and that is I can ask again to the people who ghost me. I can try again. I can pursue them, to a certain point. If they ghost me, if they don't answer, I can try again in a couple months and see what happens. I don't think that's great dating advice. Like if you ask someone out and they're like, no, I mean, personally, I wouldn't try again, but you do you. So those are all my updates. I want to thank you for listening. Thanks for trusting me. I hope I helped you get some clarity in this episode and help you feel less alone in your dating life. And don't forget, you're doing great. I'd love it if you share this episode with someone who is navigating dating and might need a little confidence boost or some tough love. If any of these episodes have helped you in your journey, you could help me by leaving a stunning review on Apple or giving Dating Intentionally 5 stars on Spotify or subscribing on YouTube. I really appreciate it. Once again, I'm Talia. This has been Dating Intentionally, and I'll see you on Friday with a new guest episode.